Sage Wanderer coming at you from my van down by the river. So this is a bit of a news piece, a celebration moment, and an announcement on a new series that I'm going to start here. So we'll start with the headline. Are you ready? If you haven't heard, this is big news. It's out there, and I'm not reporting on it first at all. But Charles Manson, dead of natural causes at the age of 83 in a Bakersfield hospital. Thank God this demon-possessed maniac has been removed from the human population and we are no longer supporting his life. I do not understand why God let him live so long. But in a way, I'm kind of happy that he did. And that leads me to my other announcement that I will be starting a video segment that I'm going to call Hellfire. And this is not going to be probably popular, but I think there's a core group of us out there who would like to hear what I have to say on this topic. And I'm talking about demon possession and the activity of demons in our society, and who they possess and for what purpose, and their structure and their hierarchy, and how they are all regionally ordered like a military force in the world through a geographical thing, a grid we call ley lines. And so this will be something that is not for people that are spooked by this sort of thing at all, and it'll be real talk. And this will be the segment where I share with you some of the stories and information that I acquired while working as part of my job as an exorcist in Texas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so, yes, I'm going to be trading in my patented bear claw for my clerical cross that I wore for so many years. Yeah. But let's celebrate that Charles Manson was taken out. And let me tell you that this touches this Charles Manson thing. Gosh, I don't know if that was a good segue or not. I got choked up. Yeah, no, I'm picking up the cross again. I'm picking up the sword of the Word of God, and I'm putting on the full armor of God and doing what I used to do so well again, one way or the other. And the first step for me really is this discussion and this new series. But let's talk about Charles Manson for a moment. I got to tell you that I am of the certain age that these events happened and were in the news in some of my earliest memories. Now, my father was not the type, the old Marine preacher was not the type to shelter his young son from anything real, from anything bloody or anything that, I mean, by today's standards, yeah, people would scream if they knew that I have my earliest memories watching live video footage, film footage, being broadcast of Vietnam, unedited, gunfights, you know, real blood, people running through the rice paddy with machine gun fire. That stuff was live on the news back then, and, you know, I don't know how much of that footage has survived the test of time, but it is imprinted forever in my mind. So the old man did not shelter me. He thought a boy is a boy for now, but someday he'll be a man, and men must be aware of these things. So I watched a lot of information at a very early age about Helter Skelter and the murders in California by the group known as the Family, fronted by the demonic Charles Manson. And that as a young child, some of my earliest irrational fears revolved around this human piece of trash. That I knew at childhood that he would be paroled. He was supposed to be up for parole as early as 1984. And I knew, you know, I would be a young man, boy, at that time in the world. And that it frightened me as a very young child, as a 4-year-old, 5-year-old child, the thought that Charles Manson might be free on the streets in my lifetime. So, you know, I outlived that murderous scum. And he stayed in there in that prison forever. And let me tell you, it kept his demons imprisoned as well. That's one reason, for those of you that are hardcore and for capital punishment, pedophiles and people like that. Let me just give you a spiritual perspective that maybe you might not have thought about. That when you lock an individual like Charles Manson up, that is so clearly, completely demonized, that I really have referred to him as legions for a long time, that this demonized individual had his demons entrapped inside of him and locked in a cage so they couldn't be out in the world. And so if you believe in spiritual warfare, pray now that those demons don't find a new home in some new host, in some lost soul. Because when they die, they get freed. But let's hope that enough prayer warriors and spiritual warriors around the globe have been praying this prayer for long enough that God sees fit to have Michael and his archangels meet those demons as they leave Charles Manson's body and escort them to the pit. Sorry, this is not my usual format. I apologize to my people. I would say tune out if this bothers you. But this is part of a new series called Hellfire, where I talk about this very real war as I see it in the spirit realm. I talk a lot about the physical realm, but this will be a more religious type of post, not necessarily any kind of one viewpoint about this. You know, my beliefs on this subject are a mixture of Catholicism and evangelical Christianity, and the common thread between those two ideas. And you can't study the history of the evangelical church until you run into the Catholic Church. And if you want to go all the way back to Jesus, you got to study them. And that's one thing that I got, that a lot of people who are evangelical ministers did not get. I got Catholic training through the Episcopals. And yeah, I rubbed elbows with exorcists from every type of religion that believes in it. And that even Jews actually, some Orthodox Jews actually engage in this same kind of deliverance, is what it's called nowadays. So, yeah, celebration that Charles Manson is dead, and I hope his demons went to hell with him, because that was one evil man. And the helter-skelter murders were shocking, and the first really of their kind ever recorded in American history. And I lived through that, and it was frightening. Frightening. But, you know, I know God protects me. I got angels all around me. I feel your prayers. I feel the power of God rising in me. And I won't much longer be able to hold it back. And I'll try not to let it bleed over into the other things that I do on this channel, the entertainment, the music, the monologue. But this new segment will be interesting to my Hellfire and Brimstone Christian type folks. New segment called Hellfire. Watch for it. Alright, so God bless and God save the Republic. And Charles Manson is dead.